Welcome, everyone. Today we're welcoming Katja Dörlemann. She's a awareness specialist at Switch, which means she is engaged in promoting information security amongst universities, hosts, and citizens. And since 2010, she has been a security awareness consultant for various Swiss IT companies, and today she's going to talk to us about why passwords are a trigger topic. Give it up for Katja. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the very nice introduction. My name is Katja Dörlemann. I will talk to you about passwords today, and just some quick notes on expectation management. I will not provide you with a perfect solution to get rid of them, okay? Because if I would have this solution, I would be sipping cocktails somewhere and not standing here. Exactly. Okay, so we are going to talk about why passwords and why they still trigger us and why we still have to deal with them. Exactly. So just quickly, who knows what is security awareness, more or less? More or less, okay, great. So you probably know that security awareness is kind of like a link between, let's say, the IT and technical world and the end user world, right? So I study literature. I come from the normal world, sorry. Who studies IT here in this room? Almost all of them? Okay, great. And via security awareness, I kind of entered the realm of IT and technology. So instead of reading my favorite author right now, which is Italo Calvino, who has read Italo Calvino? Applause for you. The others should have a look into that. Right now, I'm reading more about cyber risk, cyber strategy, etc. Where do I do that? At Switch. Who knows who Switch is? I'm asking a lot of questions, but great. So you probably know we are the National Research and Education Network in Switzerland, and we provide the universities and research institutions with internet, and we're also the registry for .ch and .li domains. That is, we are working together closely with a lot of interesting organizations in Switzerland, the Swiss universities, Swiss research institutions, the internet community, and also some organizations of the critical infrastructure. We offer a lot of services, and among them is security. We at Switch CERT, the Computer Emergency Response Team, that's where I am part of, we try to make the internet a little safer, a little bit more secure. And in this context, we also have, and I have to start a talk like this off with tips like that, we also offer recommendations to strong passwords. Okay, so I have to start with this slide because we're talking about a trigger topic. Who feels triggered yet? Great. So usually, if people see this kind of slide with this content, there are only three possible reactions. The first is falling asleep, because some people already made up their mind saying like, well, I know how to deal with passwords. I don't need, again, this recommendation. Second, eye rolling. Again, those security people are really annoying. Or people are sharpening their teeth because they're already looking forward to the Q&A telling me that these are the wrong recommendations. So I don't know which one of the three you are just having in mind or picturing. Or maybe you have another one, but it's barely, oh, that's interesting, I'm going to apply those tips. That's a problem. So most of the end users, like I include myself into that group, and I would include you too, are kind of having this spirit, right? They are frustrated. They don't want to choose more passwords. They don't want to get confronted with this topic anymore. They say enough is enough, which is also kind of what the security community say, enough is enough. That's kind of like an overlap. But this is the level of frustration we're at right now. This guy says, I'm sorry it's in German, but I think it's so fitting. This guy says, I will not, like he's frustrated and he provokes, more or less, saying I will not think of a new single password for the rest of my life. And he's probably not alone with this, because having a look at the top 10 passwords in Switzerland, people are not very creative and not very secure. And obviously they also don't follow the tips that I just showed you in the beginning, right? And I'm pretty sure for 2021 it will be kind of like the same. So this is a problem, obviously. But the thing is, we know what we should do, but we just don't do it. So we know that we shouldn't use the same or a variation of a password, but we still do it. We know we should change our password once it was compromised, or we know there's an indicator of compromise, but we don't do it if we're not forced to. We know the best password practices, but we still don't use password managers. So something's wrong here, right? So that behavior obviously drives the security community crazy. So they feel triggered too, on another level, but passwords for them is a trigger too. So why do they care so much about passwords? I mean, they could just say, well, you know, this is one security measure. If people don't want to do that, they are too bored, too lazy, who cares? The problem is passwords are crucial, obviously. I guess you all knew that, but I will repeat that because it is so crucial. Passwords are very crucial to secure our data. Because what do we secure with passwords? Almost every online account, every data that is kind of stored online. Every email account, every social media account, every online shop that we register, every account, we save our data with passwords. But not just that, so passwords are everywhere, right? We also encrypt using passwords. So if you send an encrypted file to someone, or you encrypt, I don't know who stores their bachelor thesis or other theses like in the cloud somewhere, you access this cloud via password, right, usually. So also that data is saved and secured by a password. So, and you know, imagine you're a security expert and you build this beautiful castle with thick walls and iron windows and iron doors, and then there comes the person who wants to live in that castle, and he just leaves the door open, he or she. So that's a problem, obviously. So passwords are the key to our data. And that is why criminals are obviously going on a hunt for passwords. I mean, that's nothing new. You all know that. Cybercrime is a billion-dollar business. So it generates, experts say, 1.5 billion US dollar. That's a lot of money. And out of these 1.5 billion US dollars, 160 million US dollars alone, estimated, are generated in revenue just for trading data. That means selling and buying, not using it, selling and buying. So there's a lot of money. And again, like this is obviously a motivation for everyone, for people who are illegally into hacking and stuff, to steal your passwords. This happens very often. I hope that's also, nothing new for you. I like the Dashlane's worst password offenders, like the list of 2020, and I think like in 2021 they will have a new one. This is just the top 3. They have a top 10 actually, but the top 3 already shows a variety of password problem scenarios. So first of all, who remembers the Twitter incident in July last year, right? Where a 17-year-old high school student kind of tricked Twitter employees into revealing their passwords. And among them were people with admin rights, so that guy had access to everything. And 130 verified accounts began to post Bitcoin scams, among them Barack Obama, Elon Musk, Joe Biden, and a lot of other people. That caused, let's say, a little bit of harm, but there was still, I would say, for people who observed this whole thing, was kind of fun, I have to say. So then we had Zoom in April. Who remembers that? So we just got cozy in our home offices with Zoom sessions. We started using backgrounds, like the palm trees and the beaches and stuff. And then that was the time when 500,000 Zoom credentials were posted for sale on the dark web. That's not nice, because what do hackers do with those credentials? They try them out in each and every other online account that you might have, and see if they can get your email or, they don't target you, obviously, specifically. They just do it with everyone, randomly. Problem. Then we had EasyJet. That's a special one. EasyJet claimed that in January, they were noticing that they were hacked, that there was an attack against them, and that 9 million EasyJet travelers' emails and itineraries were compromised, including over 2,000 credit card details. But only in April they informed their clients. So why is that a problem? That is obviously a problem because with this information leaked and the person who owns this information doesn't know about that, you can create and design perfect phishing campaigns, right? Imagine you get you're flying with EasyJet somewhere and you're getting an email telling from EasyJet, fake EasyJet, but EasyJet, telling you using the information that they have about you that you have to change your password or you have to get your credit card data somewhere. So that is obviously very efficient. So it's a problem. Just to recap, how can you steal passwords? First of all, using social engineering, like the 17-year-old high school guy, student, like phishing, let's put it like this, who never received a phishing email so far? No one, right? Great. So it's pretty common. So people try to do that with phishing emails. The IT scam, have you had some phone calls from Microsoft support? You did? Great, yeah. So it's perfect. So that also kind of works sometimes. It still works. Then there is guessing, and I would call it targeted guessing. So if you're a person of interest, for example, you work at some point in the finance department, or you're like a famous politician or an otherwise a famous rich person, hackers might try to guess your password by gathering intel that is publicly available on the internet, right? Like on your social media profiles, LinkedIn, I don't know, you name it, like maybe EasyJet itineraries and stuff like that. Because most of the people still generate passwords using somehow relations to their private life. So name of the kids, name of the dog, name of the favorite place they go for holiday to, name of the favorite book, stuff like that. And this is all information that is about most of us online, somehow available. Who uses still Facebook? You're the younger generation? Okay, great. Twitter? Instagram? Okay. So also on Instagram, obviously, you can find a lot of information if you just scroll down, see who are your friends, what do you like, what don't you like, etc. And then there is the most, I would say it's efficient method to steal passwords, which is kind of random. So this whole thing is like, I'm not a person of interest, so I don't have to be worried that I get hacked. Doesn't count, obviously, because they just randomly guess anyone's password. Did you ever hear about brute force attacks or dictionary attacks? Most of you? I will just explain it quickly. So with brute force attacks, it's actually, they will try to hack your password using brute force, which means just trying out every possible combination of characters there is until they find the matching string of characters, right? Dictionary attacks are a little bit smarter. So first, they might use already decrypted already hacked passwords and try them out. Taking the top 10 password list, for example, but not the top 10, but top 1 million, something like that. Or actually words from the dictionary. So if they would hack, I don't know, are you from Switzerland? No. But from? Italy. From Italy. So they would take the Italian dictionary and try out every word, first of all, before they try the combinations to hack you, for example. Okay, so obviously there's not just one person sitting, like the 17-year-old, sitting in front of the computer typing in every possible combination of characters, because that would take a lot of time. And obviously also you cannot just log in again and again and again and try that with every possible combination. So how does it work? First of all, we have to know what password hashes are. Do you already know what that is? Most of you? Great. But again, so that works with hashes. So most of the hackers who try to brute force your password have hashes. Because most of them, not all of them, but luckily, most of the service providers like Facebook, your online shop, your email provider, etc., they don't store your password in clear text on their servers, most of them. They change them into hashes and put them on their servers. So they can check when you log in, they generate the hash again, and then they see if it's a match, and then you are logged in. So a hash is a function, a mathematical function that cannot be reversed. So it's a one-way function. So you can generate this hash out of oops, for example, which is a very bad password, obviously. But you cannot generate oops out of this password hash. That's the whole idea, to make it secure, kind of. The thing is, obviously there are software programs that are free to download on the internet, but please don't do that. You can, but please don't hack any passwords and do any illegal stuff. And with the right software program, it takes a very, very old computer less than 10 minutes to crack this hash into this password. So this is obviously a problem, and that is also why I don't know, those tables, I guess you've seen them around, there are a lot of them out there. They show you more or less right now with the current computer power that is available generally, how long it takes to crack brute forcing, how long it takes to crack passwords. So, and as you can see, with 12 characters and a certain complexity, it will take more or less 2,000 years, which is good for now, but let's wait 5 years and then maybe you need to put 15 characters to have 2,000 years. We will see. But anyways, for now, 12 characters. So where do those criminals get those hashes, right? Because they need them to crack them, right? The problem is those service providers, they store their data also somewhere on a server, and how is the server protected? With a lot of things, but also a password, right? So sometimes, or not just sometimes, very often on a daily basis, there are data breaches. So people or service providers or companies, organizations, they lose data. I guess you heard in the last time, like Facebook was in the news, no, not the recent Facebook incident, but the ones before, they were all about data losses and breaches. There's even a whole Wikipedia page just listing data breaches. And I just copied in here the one so far from 2021, and those are only incidents that involve the theft or compromise of 3,000 or more records. So it happens. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. So even if you think, oh great, they secure my passwords, they hash them and they put them on a secure server, blah, 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 I trust the service provider, don't. Because, they're also there, it's just people who work there, they can make mistakes. If you want to find out if one of your passwords or accounts is kind of in one of those data dumps that are available for hackers to crack with all those hashes, check on haveibeenpawned.com. Just put your email address in, and then you see. And if one of your account pops up, obviously, please change your password into something. And all the other accounts where you maybe potentially use the same password, it's also very clever. Okay, so now we know why we have those 3 tips, more or less. First of all, unique passwords, because criminal hackers or criminals will, once they find out one of your passwords, they will try to use it on each and every other platform they can. Like especially email, because if they hack your email, they can reset usually all of your other passwords. We also, I hope it is now clear that why you should use minimum 12 characters. So if your hash gets leaked, your password hash gets leaked, it is not crackable so easy. And then multifactor authentication, also very good, because if you get hacked, if your password gets cracked, they still cannot log in because they lack the second factor. Who's using multifactor authentication? Awesome. Great. So the thing is, but why? It seems very complicated and not very secure, this whole password authentication process, I feel. Very complicated and again, not very secure because data breaches, hashes, and da-di-da-di-da. I would say it's not optimal. So why do we have them? Why do we still have passwords? So first of all, to understand that, we have to take a step back and think about why we started with passwords. So back then, putting a password on for each individual user as a lock seemed like a very straightforward solution, says Fernando Cobeto, who is a US-American computer scientist, or was a US-American computer scientist. He was a professor at MIT, and he worked on the first computer with password function. So in 1961, the first computer with password function started working. It was a compatible time-sharing system at the MIT and in use until 1973. So what happened was students had to, for research, they had to use some computer power and for their research and their studies. But the thing is, obviously, back then, it was very expensive and not very easy to use computers, not like today, as you all know. So they had to share this computer power. And in order to do that equally and kind of like without people hitting each other, they got passwords and a certain amount of time. So obviously, students, some of them, there was, let's put it like this, there was a student, a PhD student, Alan Scher, who had 4 hours per week to do his research and his studies. That was not enough for him. So obviously, in 1962, there was the first password theft. That's a legend, right? But that's what happened, basically. So he needed more computer power, and what he did, coincidentally, he found out where those passwords are stored. They were stored in a document, and he could just print it out. And he used the time of the other students. Clever, right? So again, it was a straightforward idea, yes, but also not really, let's say it was proven that it can fail very easily, but still it was a straightforward idea. Because in 1961, obviously, passwords, Alan's password, he had one password. Then the years come and the technology evolves, etc., etc. In 2021, most of us have over 100 passwords. So back then it seemed like a straightforward solution. Now it's it's not. Because, the circumstances are very, very, very different. So the technology evolved a lot, but this process, not really, let's put it like this. But I will get back to that later. So does it make sense that we still use the same authentication process, although the whole, the context, the IT context has changed? No, obviously, because during the past decades, IT crawled out of the nerd corner into each and everyone's life. So IT is everywhere, in every process, in whatever we do, the governmental processes, shopping processes, everything we do, healthcare, everything is kind of digitized and uses IT and passwords. And while this was happening, this whole evolving thing of the IT and blah, 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 the security community forgot kind of about the growing and more diverse group of users like us. So it's not just the MIT students, PhD students anymore, it's everyone. And obviously everyone has different skills and different living contexts than MIT students, right? So who knows? So this is why security awareness actually has a right to exist. Let's put it like this. Who knows that October is Security Awareness Month? Great. So we really suck at our jobs, I would say. So I really like this quote, and I don't know, I might ask this guy if I could use it to print T-shirts because it's amazing, I feel. So. Because we kind of really do at some point, including the user at least, at this area, we really suck. Because obviously those 3 things might be applicable for you guys who are tech savvy and you know how to deal with technology, you know how to choose a password manager, what fits best to you, to use one across devices, to use multifactor authentication, etc. But for a normal user, who just uses the computer to, I don't know, shop something on Ricardo or use the email, this is very hard, right? So, with the increase of use cases, online use cases, and the increase of cybercrime, the security community didn't come up with a better solution. It just came up with complexity. So first of all, we told the users, we told Ellen, please use a password, Then as cybercrime rose and more people were using more online services to protect with passwords, we told them use complex passwords. Then we told them, you have to regularly change your password because it might be stolen. Then we told them, please use unique passwords because if it gets stolen, the criminals might use this password to log into your other accounts. And now we're telling them to use multi-factor authentication. So it's almost impossible for someone who is not really into that to reach the top of security mountain, right? It's really not good. And speaking of multi-factor authentication, imagine you tell someone who is not really into IT, hey, you should really use multi-factor authentication. Then this person asks you, what is multi-factor authentication? You're explaining, and then this person says, yeah, that's a very good idea. I go to my Facebook page, and he or she is looking for multi-factor authentication, but finds out that it's not multi-factor authentication, it's two-factor authentication. Then he or she goes to Google and finds out, two-factor authentication and multi-factor authentication, I cannot find it, but here it's called two-step verification. So it's super confusing. It's the same thing, but it's super confusing. So the security community I don't know why, but the community fails at working together, collaborating. And this is also for me as a security awareness specialist, if I want to communicate or teach people how to use this kind of technology, how do I do that? Sometimes it's called MFA, sometimes 2FA, but sometimes also this, and in another language it's probably something else. But it's the same thing basically. It's really, really hard. So, but to be fair, there was a recent development that helped people to push all this up to be more secure, which is the password manager, obviously, but it doesn't really help because there are other things that still really go wrong. And second, what I noticed, in the past 1 to 2 years, people do not talk about password managers only. They now use password vault, password lock. So the same thing with multi-factor authentication starts again. People are confused, don't know what to do, most of the people. So this is nothing new, shockingly. So already in 1999, there was a study published on password policies and organization. And big surprise, what they found out is that the current password policies are not really helping to increase security. Specifically, what I want to point out is here the recent and frequent change of passwords did not help the security people, because people tend to choose weak passwords because they know next month or within the next 3 months I have to change it again. This information was included into the NIST guidelines, which is the official recommendation from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and a lot of organizations look up to this and to those guidelines and orient their security rules and policies towards it. They took it up in 2017, so almost 20 years later. Yeah. So... Thanks. So, why? Why did it take so long? It's weird. We already knew that because we keep ignoring the human factor, kind of. And the human factor is the only factor who can influence this whole password thing, right? Because it lies in our hands. So the BSI, which is the governmental organization for security in Germany, they took it up in 2019. So just saying, it takes a lot of time. So we failed, the security community failed a lot in the past years, not just by not optimizing the whole authentication process, the password process, but also by communicating and trying to involve the user. So first of all, what we did in the beginning is we told the end user just what to choose. We cannot just tell them, okay, you need to choose a strong password. We also need to tell them how to manage it. What is a good password manager? How do you implement a password manager? How do you use a password manager across different devices? How do you manage this whole thing? Because it's very complex. Then what we noticed, or what I noticed in my daily work, there are still a lot of prejudices against password managers. I don't know, did you ever try to convince one of your non-tech-savvy friends to use a password? Okay. I see. So this is the problem, right? So people think, okay, if I put all my passwords to one organization, this is less secure than just using one password for everything. Because they trust themselves more than they would trust another entity. And obviously this is a problem. So people, and also password manager service providers should work on that, on their advertising. Then, as I said, the confusion with the terms, which is the 2FA, MFA is not the only example. Again, password managers, password vault, it's everywhere. So we really have to agree on how to call those phenomena, how to name them. And then what the security community and a lot of people who work in tech forget a lot of times is that not for all the people in the world, security is a priority. For a medical doctor, his or her priority is to save lives, to save the patient. He or she doesn't care if he or she uses a strong password in this moment. They just don't. And they don't have to. They shouldn't have to. The same thing goes for a sales guy. A salesperson, he or she, his or her priority is to sell the product, to make money, not to be secure. They also have to do that, but it's not their priority. We cannot forget that. So it needs to be easy and kind of implemented. So where do we go from here? Now we know it sucks, kind of. We suck at our jobs. The end users suck at using passwords. Passwords in general are not the best way. So in the future, we have to work on, that's maybe a bit brutal, but on killing passwords, right? So I like this quote from one of my colleagues, and a lot of people agree with him. Like, passwords need to die. What are the current alternatives? I didn't list all of them that are out there, but this is currently already available, and I guess a lot of you are already using like biometric methods, fingerprint, Face ID. I don't know, fingerprint probably. Yeah. The single sign-on, which would be like one login for several services, which you still have passwords but less. And then FIDO2, who heard about FIDO2 or the Fast Identity Online? Great, which is kind of like a collaboration, which is great because the security community, as I said, should collaborate and work together. And they are working on an authentication standard and offering several passwordless authentication methods. Yeah, so that's already out there, but obviously there's a lot more going on because everyone knows if you actually find the solution to do that, you can earn a lot of money, first of all, and second, a lot of reputation. And you can change the world, basically, and you can make a lot of people happy. So just checking, researching what's already out there, I found some interesting insights. So this guy, this article is from 2019, but still, this guy is just writing an article about how complicated it will be for organizations to change from passwords to passwordless, whatever the structure, the method will be. Because yes, it is broken, the system, but the thing is it's so deep down in the whole technical infrastructure that it's really hard and very expensive to get rid of it once you have a solution. So it's not just the technical setup that you have to change. You also have to train the IT staff and the people who implement it. You have to train your staff, your employees, to use the new method. So that takes time and a lot of money. So this guy just says, well, prepare, give budget for this, for those kind of projects, and speak resources to that. Then there's Google. I recommend reading this blog article. I found it quite interesting. Because first I was like, oh great, they already found a solution, right? In the title, a simpler and safer future without passwords, great. So I read, and I was like, okay, that's getting more complicated. And in the last paragraph, I was like, okay, so it's passwordless, kind of like, but we need features like password import, password manager, security checkup combined with authentication products like sign in with Google, and then we're passwordless at some point. So, also there, people are working on it, but we're not there yet. Let's put it like this, and it's still a long way, and it's complicated. Then, just this week, I participated in a very interesting webinar from Microsoft, who told me that my passwordless future starts now, which is great. Again, Microsoft is a big supporter of this FIDO Alliance, the FIDO 2. And the ideas they had and they presented were great. The problem is also there. For now, it works with Microsoft. So people who use Apple and stuff, they can still use it. But obviously, it's another obstacle to implement it, to use it, etc., etc. So also there, very good ideas, already great solutions. But for the broad public, for everyone to, what we would need in order to get rid of passwords, not there yet. So what I hope I have showed today is that and password is not the only technical phenomenon that falls kind of like in this context. Cybersecurity and also IT, it's not just about fixing IT. It's about trying to find a good together with the social and technical aspects. We cannot forget about the end user because the end user is crucial. And we cannot forget that this end user is usually not tech savvy and usually not very keen on being secure, and they don't have time to be secure, etc., etc. So there is also already research out there. I mean, who heard about human-centered security or usable security? Some of you. So those are actually research fields right now there, where there's a lot of things going on. I recommend. I don't know if you can actually do they get the slides? No. Okay. Okay. Anyway, so I recommend reading 2 or 3 of those papers. It's very interesting. They're the approach on how to integrate the human factor into security and IT processes. Also, if you're interested in not reading but joining a conference, there are conferences on this topic. Surprise. The HISA, for example, and also what I can really recommend is the SUPS, where students from all over the world just present papers on, for example, why the Corona app in Germany did fail, or why people don't get the concept of macros in Microsoft Word, why people don't get the concept of signal encryption, why people generally don't understand what is encryption. It's really interesting and a lot of interesting new information that now needs to be transferred into practice, obviously. At the Ruhr-Universität Bochum, they already so there's a whole chair called Human-Centered Security, and they have this student program, which is called Usable Security and Privacy, a bachelor and master. And what I just want to point out is, I know it's in German, but I will translate, they don't study secure authentication, they study usable authentication, which if you just think about it, would be secure because people need to know that it's usable and know how to use it, and then it would be more secure. So far so good. If you're now interested in learning more about security awareness and this whole, including the human factor, I can just recommend, I just do a little advertisement for Switch and ourselves. Just a little one, it's all for free. The Security Awareness Day that just happened. The recordings are online, you can just watch them. And if you're German speaking, we also have a podcast that I'm co-hosting, but it's in German. That's called Security Awareness Insight, it's on Spotify. And having said that, I'll come to my last slide. And yeah, I mean, I can just, like, having heard what I just said, I can just leave you with those 3 tips, because we have to live with those 3 tips for quite some time still, until we have the passwordless future and everything gets better. This might change over the years and rise, but the rest, I guess, for now will stay the same. And with that, I'm finished and open to suggestions what you would put in for recommendations.
Good. Thank you very much for this interesting talk. We have some time for questions, even a little bit more time. We're done a little bit early. So does anyone have any questions?
Maybe we'll start with an easy one. Do you know what was a large Swiss data breach recently?
The last Swiss data breach, you mean?
Or are we doing better than the average?
No, obviously not. But I would have to think about that. The latest Swiss. Yeah, no, right now it doesn't come to my mind, but there was. Well, the vaccine, wasn't it the vaccination portal, right? But that was the beginning of the year. Last year, I don't remember. Somewhere during Corona. There was the last big one, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, obviously it happens, yeah, too. And with GDPR, obviously, I don't know, GDPR is familiar? Yeah. So with GDPR, also the European and I think also the Swiss companies now, they are obliged to make it public if they get hacked. Before they could just, try to hide it, but now they have to make it public, which is good.
Because before you talked about the Have I Been Pwned site, they also have this feature where you can also check your password if it has already been compromised. Would you recommend that?
So, me personally, no. But Troy Hunt, who is the person behind this webpage at the data bank, he is well respected within the security community and he has a lot of trust. So I would not generally say, oh my God, don't do it, this is shady, but I also wouldn't do it. Just to be sure, yeah.
Just a comment on that, because I don't really think you're uploading the whole password. You hash it locally and send a part of the hash, and then you get a prefix matching, so it's not really bad. So it's also integrated in features like 1Password. This password manager that automatically checks it. So I think it's not something that you shouldn't advise, because it's not uploading a KTX password or whatever to Troy's server to then give him the power to log in everywhere.
That's very true, yes. A lot of password managers actually compare the passwords entered or generated with the database, have an important database. But still telling people to insert their password somewhere, I just generally, that's, yeah, I just wouldn't say that. But yes, thanks for this comment.
So you strongly advocate password managers. How much would you say does the quality or security vary depending on which manager you use?
So the Data Privacy Office of the Canton Zurich, they actually evaluated and published a evaluation of several password managers, and that's online. And I don't know how to send you the link, but I can say it's online if you go to the But generally, I mean, it depends on your level of paranoia, right? If you want to be super secure, it's like this balance of usability and security. If you want to be super secure, you install something like KeePass, which is just locally, but you can then only use it on this one device, right? If you want to use your password manager on your cell phone, on your mobile, on your laptop, and on your desktop, and on your tablet, it depends if you want to have 4 password files that you have to maintain, or if you want to use one password manager that is stored in someone's cloud, but you can access it from all your 4 devices. generally, I would inform myself a little bit about password managers and see who gets the best ratings, and definitely check this the list or the evaluation from the Data Privacy Office from the Canton of Zurich. But generally, those people earn their money, and their whole business model is about trust, right? If they would fail at that, they can close down. So I'm pretty sure they have a lot of awareness measures in place, I guess. And I mean, they are obviously, nothing is 100% secure, but generally you cannot, just don't take anything shady that's called, I don't know, I hack you password manager or something like that. Like a good someone that's a password manager that is a brand that is established.
What do you recommend for passwords when it's a pop-up where you can't go to your password manager and try to copy something out? Is there a trick where this happens more often to me, and it's kind of annoying?
Yeah, I understand. I really do. I mean, you also have to have one password for a password manager, right? So at some point. Right. I understand. But also this one should be chosen well, right? So, there are those typical recommendations, like, I don't know, picture your favorite song. Take the second verse or second line and just take the first characters or the second ones, and including the special characters like, I don't know, exclamation marks or, I don't know, and then add a number. Or your poem. I don't know, do you have a favorite poem? No, probably not. Favorite book? First line of your favorite book? Something like that, yeah. So this is how I would do it. Or if you have to really make sure, and if you have the chance to later put it and change it, put it into your password manager, add it to your password manager, and then change it. I mean, if it's for one day, write it down and then change it. But yeah, I don't know if that was of help. Good.
Okay, thank you very much.